of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
We are back for the Tuesday edition of Running Point. We had to miss yesterday because, well, the internet around the world broke.
We'll just call it the glitch gremlins. They finally got a win over us. Much like Scotty rarely gets those wins over me on Wednesdays.
It wasn't even the win over us. It was the win over everywhere.
They always try to get the wins. They kind of remind me of the Washington Generals when they come to play the Globetrotters. It's once every like 30 to 40 years. I feel like the Generals get those wins.
Yeah,
it's very long and dispersed in between. That's kind of how the glitch gremlins are. They'll get their wins every once in a while, but we're back up and running. We take them most times.
They got the biggest win of their lives. I mean, they took down Facebook and Instagram throughout the world. They took down StreamYard, and they took down a lot of other things too.
The upset of the century for
we thought we were heading for the Stone Age. We were.
Jeez, oh man. But now we got the glitch gremlins out there. Midnight passed. We're all good, and we're back up.
We got a lot to talk about today since we missed yesterday, and we have some guests lined up as well. It's going to be a jam-packed show of Running Point. And to start things off at 12:05, and in just a matter of minutes, we're going to be talking to the head coach of Windham Volleyball, Lauren Gintert. Windham is a team that we're excited to have on the network this year. We brought them on right before fall season started. I know next week you're going to be getting to Windham for a volleyball game to get them on the network. And how fortuitous that we're also going to be talking to their head coach here today.
Yeah, absolutely excited too, because Windham's right in that interesting spot, I believe, coming into tonight 7 and 8, so right around teetering that point. But I mean, they're primed in a prime position to get hot at the right time, and boy, oh boy, if they do, it could be an exciting playoff and an exciting tournament time for Windham.
If they strike the match this week, next week they have 4 games in 4 days, which can be tough if you're not rolling. But if you are rolling and you do have that momentum, then 4 games in 4 days can be amazing for a team. Really, really easy to rattle off 4 straight wins if you're on a roll.
Especially even if you aren't on a roll, that might be the perfect thing too that gets you on that roll. I mean, nothing will get you prepared for a tournament like playing 4 different opponents in 4 days, ones where you don't really have much time in between. You just got to get ready for the next one. That's going to get you in the perfect mentality and ready to participate in the tournament.
You really don't see too many 4 games in 4 day stretches for volleyball teams. A lot of 3 games in 3 days, but usually it's 4 games in maybe 5 or 6 days. But Windham next week, it's go time, and then it's tournament time. So Lauren Gintert has popped on. We will let her on here as we bring on guests on Running Point. We're going to switch this and then pop her in. Coach, we can see you. Can you hear us? Oh, we'll
sometimes there's those issues too. We'll give Coach a second to get those addressed. We know StreamYard too sometimes with the camera and the microphone. Sometimes you gotta adjust or allow the permissions and everything to go through. But no, excited though that we can get Coach on and talk a little bit about Windham, because we know what their football team's doing, and we know a little bit about what their volleyball team's doing, but excited to have Windham a part of the network and a part of the program right now, as both teams and both programs doing a fantastic job. And for one of those smaller schools, man, they have a huge following and a huge group and backing in that community. For the diehards that are there, man, they're really diehards.
So just to lay out their schedule tonight, they are away at Chalker. They are away at Lordstown on Thursday, and then that 4-game stretch in 4 days next week with Badger, McDonald, Matthews, and Maplewood.
Yeah, and I mean it's a tough stretch, but honestly, like I said, it's one of those. Once you get through it, too, you're going to come out a better volleyball team.
Yeah, and I can see that she's still struggling to get on at the moment, so we'll continue trying to help get the issues fixed with Coach Gintert as we continue on this Tuesday edition of Running Point. We were talking before the air. It's not too long before we're talking volleyball tournament time.
No, not at all. And I mean, we're going to have, once we have those matchups too, that's going to be really, really fun too. Once we have the tournament breakdowns and everything, that's going to be when it gets really exciting, because you feel it. It's rounding the corner right now. And for us as the media, this is one of those times. It feels like Christmas Eve for us every time before a playoffs start for each season. This is kind of the same feeling for us, because we feel like we know football and volleyball right around the corner. So is soccer. So many sports in fall, right when we start school, that playoffs right around the corner. And boy, it is so exciting when we get into the thick of it.
2 weeks left of regular season volleyball, this week and next week. Both teams will be wrapped up by then. And sectionals, I believe, begin on Tuesday the 19th.
I mean, like I said, too, I mean, volleyball especially, it's one of those sports that, you only get about a month and a half regular season to try to fit it all in before you're in playoffs and you're into the swing of playoffs. So, I mean, it really is. It jumps on you really quickly. And, I mean, these girls, got a month and a half, 6 weeks, essentially, it feels like, to prepare and throw them to the tournament, and let's see who comes out on top.
I mean, Windham has 6 games left, but there are a lot of teams that have 3 games left or 2 games left. I mean, the schedules are winding down, and some teams will have a break before tournament time, and some teams won't. So it'll be very interesting to see what advantages that gives a team and what disadvantages that might give a team if they're off for that long.
And we'll see certain strategies, I think, be imposed too, because you also got to remember the state that we are in the country and in the entire world, with the global pandemic still going on, and COVID still being a thing that has proven to stop multitude of sports before. Luckily, we didn't have any issues, knock on wood, with volleyball last year, but we got to make sure that we obviously hope that we don't have any issues within the YSN schools this year. We see some schools taking the strategy of saying, hey, we're just going to step off the volleyball court for those few weeks and make sure we're in the playoffs. Other teams are saying, no, we can't afford that. We still need the experience. We need the reps before the playoffs. So going to be really interesting come tournament time, because there's a lot of different strategies on, even if teams want to play games before the tournament, how that's going to shape things and how that's going to swing things go. Because you know what? If you want my personal opinion on it, I feel like we're all rolling the dice every time we play anyway. So you could kind of go and do whatever you want with it, because every time you step on the court, you're rolling the dice if the next one's going to be canceled or not. So
we talked about it, though, that week off might be fortuitous, because it lessens the opportunities of you getting, a problem inside your program before tournament starts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like I said, it all comes down to what strategy teams want to implement before the playoffs. And, you might see more teams decide to do that. Some teams want to play up all the way until the end. We see a few teams that have scheduled all the way until the very end. They want a game as early as the day before the tournament starts. So, I mean, it's really, or the day before the week of the tournament, I should say, last day of the regular season. So we see teams, they want to get ready in different ways, and we'll see how it plays off too. It's all a big chess game when it comes to the tournament.
Coach still trying to get on. As we if you can hear us, Coach, you can feel free to also call. If you can't, if you're having technical issues, you can call at 330-886-0813, and we can talk to you over the phone if the issues aren't fixable. One of the things that we were talking about, man, you just never know, and that's why that week off might be fortuitous, because you have total control over your team. If you don't have a game, you have no control over what the other team across from you is doing every time you're playing a match. especially if you're on the road. You have no control over how that gym's being handled or how well that team's being cleaned or all the other factors that go into it that you have no control over yourself. So if you have a week off where you're able to just be in a completely controlled environment, that makes your chances pretty high for being able to not have issues before tournament time.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said too, it all comes down to just it's strategy, and it's whatever the coach and the team and the community feels best for the team. And honestly, some teams are able to do it. Some teams can take those long layoffs in between games and be just fine. And rest isn't an issue. And other teams, it becomes a rust issue, and they want the repetition. Give me as much repetition as quickly and as fast as possible before the start of the tournament. But like I said, all comes down to there's not a right or a wrong way to do it. It's just strategy, and it's just a big chess game, and that's why we love tournament time.
So let's take this time to kind of take a breath and recap some of the action from last night while we have the ability to do so, as we do have a call on the hotline. Maybe this is Coach Gintert. We'll see. You are on live with YSN.
Hi. I'm so sorry for all the technical difficulties.
I'm just glad you heard us and you could hear that you can call into the show.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful.
So this is as we begin to talk to you, let's just ask you about kind of the state of your team right now. I know you're 7-8, but you have 6 games left on the busy last 2 weeks of the season for you guys. Where do you think you guys are right now as a program?
Last year was a very big rebuilding year for us. We had lost 8 seniors and had 3 freshmen starting. So I knew this year would be a step up, and it has become that. The kids have really grown throughout the year, and they're still growing. We've already beaten a few teams that we lost in the beginning, and I really think this end stretch is going to go really nice.
Who are some of the people that you're really counting on to lead this team and be leaders? Shout out some of your vocal and emotional leaders of the program.
First off, our senior Zara Cunningham she has been a strong leader for a couple of years now. She leads the league in blocks. She's a powerful hitter, great middle. She's definitely a force that has really pushed us forward. I'm also very lucky to have a new freshman, Quinn Justum, who stepped up as a setter at kind of a last-minute issue. We had somebody that decided they changed their mind playing, and she got thrown in kind of like into the pack of wolves, if you will. Really, really kicked it up and came full force and has just shown so much improvement and so much teamwork throughout the season. And she's going to be quite a player for the next couple of years.
When you look at the scope of your schedule, and we were talking before you came on about this next week that you have. You have 2 games this week, which is pretty normal for volleyball, but next week you have 4 games in 4 days, and the volleyball schedule can be really grueling. What are kind of you looking for from your team in the next couple of weeks as you get ready for the end of the regular season and tournament time?
I'm looking for consistency in them. We have some moments where we kind of can go up and down, and it'll be interesting to see how 4 games has them, if they're still playing just as hard on Thursday as they did on Monday. As we approach that week, I think it's really nice to have those 4 games because it's really going to prep us for tournaments that starts the next week. But consistency in their level of play is definitely going to be a huge thing that we're going to need to finish the season off right.
Yeah, and you said consistency. That is such a big thing in volleyball. What are some things that you guys do in the gym per se that kind of the drills or the fundamentals that you guys do in practices? You don't get a lot of them because 4 games in 4 days. But when you do get gym time, what kind of things do you do to try to keep consistency and keep communication on the floor?
Well, it's consistency is the theme here. I will go with our one consistent thing we do in every single practice is we start off with serving. The kids serve every single day, every practice, all year long. They start off just warming up, and then we do some serving games, and then we do some spot serving drills. So I think that is one of the biggest parts of the game that are super important for kids. Besides that, everything else is pretty random depending on what we are working on. A lot of serve receive, that's pretty much a go-to every practice. But if we're lacking in digging out of the net, we throw that in. If we're having a struggling time hitting off of the net or in awkward locations, we'll throw some of that in. So we change it up for the most part, but serving is something that I live or die for our practices. Absolutely.
When you talk about serving and the aggressiveness of the serves, what's kind of your philosophy with that? So, because I know some volleyball coaches like to kind of lax the aggressiveness a little bit and focus on maybe putting it in a spot, and then some coaches like to really amp up the aggressiveness and try to get people out of system with their serves. So, what part of the line do you fall with that?
Well, first and foremost is just the consistency in getting the ball in the court. We start off there. And then I do spot serving with every single kid, whether their ability is strong or mediocre. I do think that in a clutch period of time, it's important that every kid knows, you know, has some idea of like how to get it there and, you know, each spot and what they need to do. And then I like to, as the kids get older and they become more secure in what they're doing, I like to get them to have some variation. So if we have a team who's not great with float serving or with some top spin, we can throw that in and they know how to do it.
Let's preview this matchup tonight with Chalker. What are some things that you expect from your team? What are some things that you expect from the other side? What do you want to see tonight from your girls to get the win over Chalker tonight?
I'm hoping that with Chalker, we go out like we did the last time, maybe a little stronger. I think that they didn't give Chalker enough credit last time and thought that it would be a little bit easier to win, and it ended up being a 5-game series. They have a really great setter over there, so some understanding of being aware of her ability to just kind of toss the ball over in a way that you're not going to expect it to be coming is something that they're going to have to be aware of. Definitely being prepared for some of those little surprises. And if they go in with that attitude and giving them a little more credit than they did last time, I think that we will be okay. If we go in not giving them the credit they deserve, then it might be a tougher game than I'm expecting.
What do you think? Every coach has expectations and kind of a way they think the season is going to go going into the season when you start. What has been the biggest surprise from this team this year?
Well, we started off our season. I had everything basically like lined out last May, which is not normal, but I had the same kids coming in that I did last season. Then I had 3 starters at the beginning that, you know, either decided not to play or quit, left the school and went to another school. So at last minute, it was the week before our game, we completely changed everything. So I think I really I went from thinking, oh my gosh, we are ready to go to what are we going to do? And I've been very happy with how the kids really have come together. We've switched up the lineup so many times. We've had some kids out for quarantining. We're a little lower on kids than we normally do. We usually have a lot more. And their ability to transition with different teammates in different positions or to switch to a different position themselves has been phenomenal this year.
Coach, I know you have a tight window. We don't want to keep you for too long, but before we let you go, I do want to give you the chance to kind of highlight some of your assistants and the coaches that kind of help you make this program what it is. Because we know as much as we love our head coaches and we highlight them as much as we can, we know that you can't do it without the people around you. So just highlight some of the assistants and the other coaches in the program that help build what it is right now.
Well, I'd have to give a huge help to Callie Apthorpe, a wonderful thank you and shout out. She has been my assistant coach for years, and this year, sadly, Youngstown State, you stole my assistant coach. She is finishing up a master's in physical therapy, but she still comes out all the time and volunteers whenever she can during this year where she's just really focusing on school and has been such a huge help. She was also a player, a senior, my very first year of coaching. So we go back quite a bit of ways, and she has been, I couldn't do it without her. This year, my assistant covering for Callie is Jordan Burns, who is new to coaching, but has thrown herself completely into it and really makes such a great difference for me. It was so great of her to throw herself out there and jump in and learn as she goes.
Perfect segue to kind of shout out the YSU volleyball team that is playing Wright State today, the reigning Horizon League champions. And they if your assistant coach is going to go somewhere, you might as well be a Division I volleyball team, right?
Absolutely.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We apologize for obviously the technical difficulties, but we were so glad that we were still able to talk to you and catch up with the program. We look forward to talking to you again real soon, and we would definitely wish you luck the rest of the way.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
That was Lauren Gintert, the head coach of Windham Volleyball, joining us on the hotline, whatever it takes, right, Ty? We get it up and going. And unfortunately, with the technology, you couldn't really be a part of that conversation, per se, but we still got some of your questions that you like to get coaches in. So what were some of your takeaways from that conversation with Coach Gintert?
I mean, it's just, it's the knack of any rebuilding team. You're trying to take younger players after you lose seniors and trying to rebuild it back up or reload it back into what you want it to be. And it looks like she's got a pretty good crop of young, talented volleyball players over there in Bomber country. And you know what? I think it seems like they're getting right into the swing of things at the right time. And you look at what Windham's been doing recently, too. On the volleyball court, you're looking at 3 consecutive victories too. Last loss was Monday the 13th of September. Last 3 matches, 3 straight victories over Bloomfield, Bristol, and Harding, 3-0, 3-0, 3-1. So if that gives you any idea of how they've been playing, I mean, getting hot at the right time. They got, like you said, these matchups, 6 more matchups too. I think it's the right time for Windham to start getting the ball rolling.
And sometimes you'll look at Warren Harding's record and be like, they're not competitive. That win doesn't. But you look at who they're playing, and you really dive into their stats and how they're doing in those matches. Beating Warren Harding is a big step for a Windham program that is a lot smaller than Warren Harding numbers wise.
Yeah, and I mean there was also a matchup too with Pie Valley too. I believe I'm not sure what I think we were either awaiting a score or I'm not sure if that one was supposed to happen. But of course, yeah, we have the Chalker, Lordstown, Badger, McDonald, Matthews, and Maplewood left for Windham. But I mean some other big matchups too. I mean they've played some big teams too. Like you said, last time they played Chalker, like Coach Gintert said, was a home matchup and it was a 3-2 win. So you got Chalker coming back. You got these 3 straight victories over various teams, all the way from what did we say prior to that? We said wins against Bristol, Bloomfield, and then Fairport Harbor, Harding. And so you're looking at those 3 victories, and then now you're going into Chalker, a team where you beat in 5 sets, but it was close. This is one of those teeter-totter games. You win this one, you are, I believe, then that would put you at 8-8 for it, and a chance to have that winning season. And you know what? For a young team, especially, a winning season can do wonders for your confidence to get right out on the court and say, wow, we made a splash the first season or second season we stepped on the court. That's pretty impressive too. And that's something a lot of those girls can hang their hats on.
And Chalker is a team that has been struggling of late. They're 4-11, and this is a big opportunity for the 4th straight win for the Bombers tonight as they travel to Chalker in another league matchup tonight. Don't miss that if you're a Windham volleyball fan, and get up to Chalker and support that team. They're back home, I believe, Thursday, and then back home again next week for the last 2 matches of that 4 matches in 4 days stretch. First 2 away, second 2 at home. So still a handful of home games for Bomber fans to go see.
Yeah, and actually going to be away Thursday at Lordstown, but they do have 2 matches home next week. That is Wednesday versus Matthews and Thursday versus Maplewood. And you're going to probably catch me at one of those 2. We'll see which one of those 2, but you're going to catch me at one of those 2, I think.
If Windham wants to make a splash, beating Maplewood at home would be the splash, because Maplewood is a dang good volleyball program. I believe leading that conference last time I checked. That would be a splash if Windham was able to do that.
And I mean, that's one of the ones it's Matthews and Maplewood that I'm looking at making an appearance to Windham and touring the Bombers gym as still I'm trying to see all the gyms as that. I think I got 26 checked off my list from basketball last season. But
last night I got to check a gym off my list as far as being a broadcaster in, because I went to La Brea. I've done softball there, but I've never been able to do a game inside that gym before. It's a big gym. It's like it's one of those ones that's not big long wise, like from hoop to hoop, but it's big wide. Like it's a real wide. I was in there and I felt like there's a lot of room for, especially when volleyball, they close one of the sets of the bleachers. There's a lot of room for players to run and make plays. And we saw a lot of that between McDonald and La Brea. A lot of effort plays out in the middle of nowhere, where bleachers would normally be, where there's a lot of room. A lot of people had opportunities to make some really exciting plays because of the room in that gym.
Yeah, and speaking on too, just to go back to Maplewood for a second, 13-0 right now as it stands. So if you want an idea, pretty darn good volleyball team.
Maplewood.
I mean, they, like you said, they usually are good. I haven't actually checked their record though up until this point. I figured they were going to be one of those teams that is towards the top because they usually are. It feels like anyway. But I didn't think I was going to see a goose egg in the loss column for Maplewood as program. I mean, it's a huge one over there. They do a great job. They absolutely do.
Proud volleyball program, and right now they have this season by the neck, and they're trying to just throttle out the last couple wins. 13, kind of low for right now. Maybe they have 6 or 7 games left on their schedule. I don't know, but
yeah, there might be, and it might not be all the scores are reported. We know that there's issues with that from time to time too, with the volleyball. Yeah. With getting volleyball scores and everything, getting those reported to from schools and everything. But looking at those gyms though, and just to get on to your point of talking too, that's the interesting thing. And what I've seen, and I've only been to, like I said, 26. I want to say I've been to just a little bit. I think over half of what we got under the Ysn banner in that last year. And I mean, the coolest thing I think about gyms, and you talk about LeBray's because I've never been in LeBray's, but you say about how it's wide, and it kind of just reminds me. I mean, that immediately makes me think of Fitch because you could raise those bleachers up, and for volleyball matches, when the one side's raised, you could see how big Fitch's gym is wide. But then I think of like bleachers itself too, because Fitch actually doesn't have that big of bleachers for being like compared to what the Struthers Fieldhouse and what Poland has. How deep and how far their bleachers go up to. I mean, it feels like those gyms are just so much bigger, like in that size too. I mean, the architecture of the different gyms are so fascinating in the area.
If you got rid of the bleachers in both those gyms, in Fitch and Poland, you could play 3 volleyball matches at once, really.
Honestly, and the thing is, I don't believe Poland's and Struthers definitely, I don't think are retractable.
No, but Poland's is. I've seen volleyball, the one side at least is. I don't know if the others.
I've only been to Poland one time, I think.
I've been to practices, and they knock those bleachers out, so they have room where they can send like JV on this side of the gym, varsity on this side of the gym.
Figured because Poland, I thought, is like a hosting site for like a lot of things like that they host other events like that too because of the size. I thought they had a bigger gym, but when I went, it was a basketball, so both sides were all the way down. So. So it just looks like, wow, there's a lot of bleachers in this gym. Like this is
like Poland is like, I know we're really off track right now, but when you're sitting in the bleachers, you are so far away from the court compared to most of the other, gyms in the area. You're still like, you're not in any danger at all.
Yeah.
And there's gyms where you're sitting like right on the out of bounds line. You're like, man, players would run right into me if they have to go for a loose ball or something.
Yeah, I mean, really, too. I mean, when you don't have too much room behind it, that's what I feel like.
Remember, Anthony can't climb up the bleachers, so Anthony's stuck in the front row. So
Fitch is one of those.
Anthony's always sitting there like that kid in The Simpsons, and when he's watching a basketball game in the bleachers, teacher.
Fitch has got one of those fences that they put in front of the crowds too, and then they have we're the ones that are up in front. We're at the scorers table typically for like basketball or volleyball, and we're right up in the thick of it too. So you got at least some coverage there at Fitch, but no, beautiful gyms too, and what I've seen, I'm excited. I want to still see all of them, and I plan on seeing all of them and going to a complete tour. Still checking some off my list, but I mean, I've seen a lot of beautiful ones to this point.
So let's retract real quick, and we can say the LeBray scores, since I brought up the LeBray game last night that I was at. They beat McDonald in 4 sets. The scores were 25-16, 25-23, 22-25, 25-22, and stats everywhere in this game. And when you look at the level of volleyball between these two teams, they were so evenly matched. It was one of those ones that I was kind of upset it didn't go 5 because it looked like it was going to go 5, and the teams were so evenly matched. It felt like it should have went 5, but LeBray made some plays down the stretch and set forward to wrap it up. But Summer Pumphrey was really impressive for LeBray. She finished the night with a double-double, 19 kills, 26 digs. Riley McDonough, double-double. and 16 kills, 15 assists. Ashley Monroe, can you guess what I'm about to say? Double, 27 assists and also 27 digs. You look at she was the third Viking to have a double. So 3 Vikings have doubles. Then you go down to McDonald, and Maria Brazil says, I'll take your double. I'll make it a triple-double. And she finished the night with 11 kills, 23 digs, 22 assists. Gianna Constantino, a double, 17 kills, 19 digs. Megan Klockner, can you guess what I'm going to say?
Double.
Hey, it's a double. 25 digs, 21 assists for her. And then Sherry Liz Bonilla led the defense for McDonald with 29 digs. Stats all over the place in that LeBray McDonald game. Both very high quality teams. I was so impressed with Summer Pumphrey. Haven't been able to see her play yet. She's a full rotation player. Does not give up anything in the back row. Plays great defense, obviously, with her stats. Swings really well. And then Ashley Monroe is the program record holder now for most assists in her career. She broke that last week in a game against Harding. 1250 and counting for career assists for Ashley Monroe. And she is also up for Big Dogs of the Valley, which is something else we have to talk about on a Tuesday. You know what? And since it's really early and we still have time, let's do our Price is Right Big Dogs of the Valley challenge. This is what we have been doing the last couple of weeks. We go on to the Big Dogs of the Valley. We see where the voting is towards the beginning of the show. I know we kind of missed the beginning because we had a guest, but we can still do this. And me and Ty kind of set a bar. And then we do Price is Right rules. Who can win this week's challenge? So as of now, before we go into the nominees, the voting total looks like it's at 16,672 for the girls, 8,709 for the boys. It's around 2,400, 24,000, I mean. So that being said, Ty, you were the non-winner last year. So I will give you the first bar set of where you want to go as far as where you think this vote will get by the end of the show.
I'll go ahead and say 27,000.
Well, so you think it's going to go up 3,000 by the end
They're
of
at right now. No, I mean right now with the hundreds included, they're at about over 25,000 right now.
Okay, yeah, you're right. The hundreds are towards the
They're probably around 25,000, 400, 500, right around that. So you're looking at about 1,500. I think they could get 1,500 in an hour and a half. That's 500 every half hour. I think they got that.
Okay, officially right now. Let's see, 16,672 plus what is it? I have to get my calculator out.
We need to make a rule too. At least 200 vote marginal difference between selections. So that way you can't just say, Ty, you go first, and I'll just go 27,001.
So right now they are at 25,381. That's the official vote they're at.
So about 1,700.
So you're saying 2,700 on the dot, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we need to have at least a 200 vote difference. So you got the closest you could get to me is 27,200.
So remember, Price is Right rules say that it is you have to get closest without going over.
Yes. But we also don't want this show devolving into someone just making a pick and we each just go one over it. So I think
I won't be that douchebag. $1.
I think we should do the 200 minimum margin difference.
You said 27. I will go with 27.5.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So you have a 500 vote margin where you can get it in a win, and then if it's anything over 27.5, I win. Now, if we both go under, we scrap. We scrap it, and it's a scratch, and it's a draw, and we don't like draws here at YSN. So, YSN Nation, please get us to at least 2,700, preferably
I'll be sure to remind you, Fitch. I'll be coming home twice this week for volleyball. I'll be coming home once this week for football. I'll be reminding you too. You got a certain someone in the volleyball big dogs rankings, and you should get on there and vote.
We're less than 24 hours in. Volleyball is already 16.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do a great job. I'll be making sure to remind them too. And if I make any other trips too, this week where the other teams that are featured in our Big Dogs of the Valley, because I believe we have, I think it's 10 schools this week, because we have a couple of crossovers, but I think 10 schools are represented this week.
So so that's the margin. Ysn Nation, at least 2,700, 27,000.
Yeah, there you go.
27,000, because we are that good at Ysn Nation getting votes in. And now we'll take a quick break. And on the other end, we'll kind of go down all the nominees. We'll start that, and then we'll get into more guests at 1 o'clock. So don't go anywhere. Ysn's Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring. And, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point Tuesday edition on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. And, I have to kind of, before we get into the nominees of Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley, I got to correct myself because it's actually the football voting that is up to 16,000 plus and the volleyball that's at 8,000. So volleyball's won 3 out of the 4 weeks as far as total votes go, but football making a push this week to be the winner of week 5, as we are so competitive. We'll make anything a competition. So the football voting is up, and they are trying to obviously get their favorite player voted Big Dog of the Valley.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, getting off to an early lead with this one and grabbing a 8,000 vote lead is football. So trying to take the crown back from volleyball this week.
That's a big lead. If you keep it going, you should be able to keep that. Like if you just now then struck the same voting, I mean, it's hard to make up.
Match 1-for-1 votes. Yeah, if you could match the votes, but volleyball, we've seen they have huge dumps of votes at random times too. So we'll see them jump drastically in a matter of an hour.
So let's go through these nominees. Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley, week 5, and let's start with, as always, with football. Antoine Brown Jr. of Warren JFK, first on the list. He set the tone in their game against Rootstown. 66-yard touchdown on the first play from the scrimmage. It was all JFK from that point on, and he had a great performance. He's had great performances all week, all year, and he gets on Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley nomination for the first time this year.
I mean, absolutely deserving too. I mean, one of the reasons why JFK has been so successful this year, when you have weapons like that can pretty much do everything. I mean, we know how dangerous they are, and he is no exception, as JFK looks primed and ready to make another deep run.
Next on the docket, David Altier from Western Reserve. He had around 250 of the around 270 total yards of offense for Western Reserve on Friday night in their win over Lowville. He is, to say he's a big part of the Blue Devils offense would be a dramatic overstatement. He is a linchpin. I don't know what you would even call him. He is just the engine that makes that Blue Devils offense go, and one of the biggest reasons they're on a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you look at what Western Reserve's been able to do, 4 straight victories too. I mean, it's been absolutely impressive too. And don't forget, we have Coach Lude coming on to the show Friday as well, coach from Western Reserve. So going to preview that matchup, looking to make it 5 straight victories, and probably talk a little bit about David Altier in our own right too with it. But I mean, he's been one of the ones leading the comeback for Western Reserve, and that is exactly the reason why we've seen them come away with 4 straight victories, especially this last one. Huge victory over the Lowville Rockets, and I thought that was a statement victory to say, okay, we're back in the thick of this. We're a serious contender now.
Next nominee comes from the Bombers of Windham, and it is Mickey Jones doing his thing, and he had a big game against Pymatuning Valley, and unfortunately the losing effort, Pymatuning Valley getting the score in the last minutes of the game to seal it. But Mickey Jones had a great performance. He gets on Big Dogs, and he is, I believe, Windham's first representative on Big Dogs for the football portion of the voting.
Yeah, and you know what, Mickey Jones and almost the entire team of the Windham Bombers exemplify toughness like you wouldn't believe too, because you're talking about 16 guys strong on this football team that go out there every Friday night, knowing that they got to play multiple positions, knowing that there's not many guys behind them that could take it, knowing that injuries that happen is just basically another 2, 3, even maybe 4 positions down in some cases too, where you're looking at that. But looking at what Windham is, man, they're tough, they're gritty, and Mickey Jones exemplifies all of that as he comes in, time out, does his job, doesn't complain about it. And through any kind of injury, through any kind of ailment, man, they all go out there and they keep coming for you. And that's a scary, scary football team to face.
Up next for the nominees, Austin Klein of Beaver Local. We see you. 5 total touchdowns for Mr. Klein, 4 through the air and 1 on the ground. Beaver Local is rolling, and their quarterback, Austin Klein, a big reason why.
Yeah, and you think Mikey McKenzie's going to be one that he's going to be shouting his name to the heavens to get this kid.
I just looked at my wrist as if I had a watch.
Yeah.
Wow, that was embarrassing. But he might be voting right now. Who knows?
Yeah, you very well could be. As Mikey McKenzie, I guarantee you would tell you just how impactful he's been too. And Beaver Local, again, one of those teams very similar to Western Reserve, having that turnaround after early in the season, a little bit of struggles. Beaver Local now looks like the real deal.
Yeah, and it might be lunchtime in Beaver Local. Who knows? Maybe their students are bumping it up a little bit, getting that voting. Ty sure hopes they are.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I hope they keep it right around 27,000.
Next, DC Farrell, the quarterback from Liberty, the freshman, led them on a game-winning drive. He had plenty of yards through the air, plenty of yards on the ground as well. He gets on the list. Freshman quarterback leading a team on a game-winning drive for the Leopards. Impressive.
Yeah, and I mean this is your kind of team too, Anthony. You've been talking about him. You've been talking about Liberty. We both picked him to win that game, and we both kind of felt like it was going to be a tough one. And boy, was it ever! But I think Liberty proved a lot of people that doubted that they could win those close games against a solid opponent. I think they proved all those people wrong, and Liberty have put them in a great position now, looking for the playoffs.
Liberty, by the way, had a 13-0 lead at halftime, saw it wiped away, and Champion took the 18-13 lead, and Liberty came all the way back and made the game-winning plays that they needed to down the stretch. Big moment for Liberty. We're going to talk to Joe Simon, head coach of the Leopards, on Thursday at 1:40 to talk about that win and talk about what is ahead for the Leopards. But moving on in the nominees, and last but certainly not least, Vashawn Gurley, he had to be on at some point. I mean, it was just a ticking time bomb of when this kid was going to get on Big Brothers of the Valley. Big dogs, big brothers. Well, it's just, it feels like a Monday, even though it's Tuesday, because it's our first show. No, it's just been a matter of time. Like, it was inevitable that he was going to get on this list, and now he does, and he's got the opportunity to win it.
If you want to know a reason why Valley Christian is atop the Eoac this year compared to years prior, he's been a huge factor in that too. I mean, Vashawn Gurley, we say his name week in and week out, and Valley Christian is becoming one of those teams that I've been paying attention to each and every week because they've been doing nothing but impressing me every time they show up. And you know what? They're at the tops of the Eoac for a reason. They made the improvements like they needed to last year. Last year we saw them. They were treading water right around that 500. We said at the beginning of the season, this was one of those teams in that bunch that could take that next step up, and boy, oh boy, did they ever. And did Vashawn Gurley. He's been a huge part of that.
And I don't know, maybe correct him, but I think Gurley's a big name in football, right? I mean, maybe a little bit.
I like the name too. I like his attitude. I like the whole team, man. I think Valley Christian's been very impressive, and they're at the tops of the EOAC for a reason. I feel like the biggest matchup that we got robbed of, and we've gotten robbed of a few matchups from COVID this year. I want to see that United versus Valley Christian. I want
this week for Valley Christian. They're hosting Southern.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one though too. That's going to be a great one too. So
I mean, EOC might be on the line.
It'll hold me over too as we look over at this one. It's going to be a great matchup though.
Yeah, I mean that and it's on a Saturday. So other than Mooney has a game Saturday too, so they're not the only show in town. But it's all about Valley Christian and Southern on that night. So maybe some added people to their crowd. Definitely some added eyes on YSN. And they'll be kind of the highlighted game of Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be nothing short of a huge matchup, as EOAC might not be on the line in this week, but it for sure will. The shaping and the landscape of the EOAC changes depending on who wins, I think.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Southern is undefeated in the EOAC right now, right?
I believe so. Let me look at what we're.
It could literally be the EOAC on the line. I know we got 2 more weeks after this week, but time's running down.
Yeah. Looking at what Southern's losses were to Crestview and Plymouth. So yeah, victories over Lisbon, Columbiana, Wellsville, and Latonia. So, yeah, I mean, you look at what they've been able to do.
This isn't the NFL. This all comes down to conference records. So, this could literally be EOAC on the line.
Yeah, it very well could be because you're going East Palestine and United, Valley Christian at 5-1, and you're looking at 5-2 Southern, but that's because Valley Christian had that game canceled with United. United also 5-1.
Both undefeated in the EOAC.
Yes,
right,
I believe so. Let me check too. Valley Christian's one loss came to LeBray, so yeah, that was within the MVAC, and then United's one loss came to East Canton. So again, yeah. So both of them out of the clear. So I mean, you got this one, and then if you win this one, if you're Southern, you got to play United at the last game.
Right. So it's coming. It's getting really fun in the EOAC. We knew it would, and made sure to keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on Vashawn Gurley as he is up for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley. That rounds out the football nominees. Let's move on to volleyball. Grace Hour, one of those ones. I mean, we talked about inevitable for Gurley. It was inevitable that Grace Hour from Crestview was going to get on this list. It was just a matter of timing, and she pops on it here in week 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you look at what Crestview's done, you have to give it to them because Crestview's volleyball team has been absolutely impressive this year, as they usually are each and every year. But Crestview doing a fantastic job over there. You're looking at 18-0. I mean, what else do you need to say? Grace Hour has been a huge part of it.
She has been, and she's a double every night kind of player. Her and Lucy Montgomery both do setting and hitting and defense. So they're both very prone for a triple-double. They both get a lot of double-doubles, and they're both very important. We've already seen Lucy Montgomery on the list earlier in the year. Now Grace Hour has a chance to get the win. Next, coming from Jackson Milton, someone that I've been really impressed with this year, Mia Greco getting the nod from Jackson Milton, and I'm sure Coach Moore is happy about that. I'll tell you something. Greco is just one of those pure athletes. She's good at everything she does, and volleyball is no different. A lot of her attributes that make her so good on the volleyball court are just athleticism. She can jump high. She moves quick. She's got power. That's just things that you don't coach. It's just straight up athleticism.
Yeah, and we know that too. I mean, that goes for a multitude of sports. Athleticism will help you a lot of the way too, figure things out with sports too. And I mean, doing a great job with it too, as you talk about her just being a complete athlete. Part of the reason why Jackson Milton's having that successful season they're having over there.
And one of the rules is when you break a record, you get on the list. And Ashley Monroe, the next nominee, she is now the LeBray program record holder for assists in her career. She broke that last week against Warren Harding last Monday. So it's 1250 and counting for assists in a career for Ashley Monroe for LeBray. She gets on the list. And LeBray, I got to see her last night. She's running a 6-2 offense, which it means she's not setting the whole match. And she still broke the program's career assist record. And the coach told me that it's been 3 years of her running a 6-2. Just her freshman year, she ran a 5-1. So very impressive that you're able to do that when you're not even setting the whole match.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just goes to show the talent level that she has.
29 assists for her, actually 27, 27 assists for her last night in the win over McDonald. We go back to Wellsville. We saw Presley Stokes win it a couple weeks ago. Now Alana Amato gets on this week's list, and Wellsville, one of those teams, we talked about it, they look so impressive. That's why they have 2 players on now this week. A couple of teams actually on this nominees have their second player of the year. And Wellsville no different. They beat Beaver Local last night 3-1, and they continue to impress this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wellsville, if they're able to win 2 in a row, I believe they'd be the second team to do so. I believe West Branch football program, the only other program to have 2 winners. I believe, what was it, Stephen Mara and Drew DeShields.
Yeah, that was back to back too. I mean,
yeah, came away victorious. So you could be it, Wellsville. You could be it.
Wow, that would be impressive. And next, someone that you're familiar with because you cover a lot of Fitch volleyball, Alyssa Leskovak gets on the nominations. We've already seen Jocelyn Jordan. Now it's Alyssa's turn to kind of shine. They're both so important for this Fitch offense and how it runs, both outside hitters. And you said it before, Alyssa Leskovak, not the tallest in the world, but she jumps out of the gym. Her vertical has to be at least what at least a 3-foot vertical.
I mean, her vertical helps out tremendously, and it just goes back to the Leskovak family being as athletic as they are. And I mean, like I said, Alyssa Leskovak might not stand at 6 foot plus, but she sure jumps like she is.
Jumps out of the gym. Yeah.
And when you talk about Alyssa Leskovak, the only thing you could just say is just versatile. She could do everything, and she can take over games in a multitude of ways. And we've seen her do it. I've gotten the chance to see her do it time and time again. The most recent one I could think of, the matchup in Louisville. You're down 2-1. You need 2 straight victories. We kind of saw Alyssa Leskovak tell everyone else on the court, "Take a step back. I got the first hit on this one." Right. It was a change in the facial expression, like we saw her brother Nate do so many times. But it's something in that Leskovak family, man. They're athletes and they're competitors.
Yeah, and the ability to take over in a match. You can only do so much in a volleyball, so I don't want to say take over really, because even if you get the first pass, you still got to get a good set.
Yeah,
get a good hit.
But I mean, getting it into the defense is so huge.
The leadership, she took over the momentum and basically made her team believe that this was it. Like, they're done losing. They're going to take that match over. And it was probably the spark that she had on the first touch that really.
Well, I mean, you talk about that too. I mean, it helps getting it into the offense when you say, I'm going to take the first hit because I'm going to make sure we get into our offense. But then she's also putting the confidence in her teammates saying, you got to finish it, or someone in between this needs to hit the ball and set this up. Because, I mean, and we saw that a couple of times. She'd get the first hit. It'd be a setup from either Burke, sometimes Jocelyn, and then Les would come back in and get the kill. So, I mean, we've seen it too, but I mean, it's trusting in her teammates too. But there's also those times where she says, no, we need this one. Let's get it. And I mean, that's what you love to see.
And last but not least, another team that is having their second nominee of the year, and it's Brie Littell from Girard. It's her and Lauren Pallone that have been the dynamic duo for the undefeated Girard Indians that continue to dominate the NE8. They have beaten reigning champions Lakeview twice this year, and they are planting their flag firmly in the area. And Brie Littell, one of the big reasons why the lefty has been strong this season.
I mean, when you're talking about two teams that are undefeated in Crestview and Girard, and we got a nominee from both of them, like, come on, guys, you guys got to get out there and support, because the fact that one of these two girls have to lose for the first time this season in something is like, come on, there's a lot that's riding on this. You guys got to get out there and vote. Someone's got to win. If we're looking at anything, Girard and Crestview, you two are both undefeated as far as I'm concerned right now. And this is for all the marbles, as you two didn't get a chance to play each other in the regular season. This is for all the marbles right now.
All the marbles. And that will kind of do it for our nominees this week. Want to remind everyone that the voting is unlimited, and it does go until Saturday at midnight. And we'll an update on where everyone is at right now. It is at 25,822, the official vote count as of now, and we still have about an hour left. So YS the Nation, get out and get some votes in. We want to see you guys get to at least 2,700 by the end of the 27,000 by the end of the show. You got about 1,000 left to go. So gotten 300 so far in the last half an hour. Keep it up, and we'll get back with you towards the end of the show to see where you're at. But before we do that, we have another guest with us on the airway. This one we're hoping to stay away from some technical issues, but it is the head football coach of Edison, Mike Holopy, and we bring him in. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
You're welcome. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good, especially when we get to talk to great football coaches like you. We've seen this Edison program really have a little bit of a spark this year and be playing really well. Give us a little bit of an update of where this team's at compared to maybe what the expectations were in the summer and coming into this season.
Well, our expectations this year were to get better every day. Something that's easier said than done. As far as, from the summer to now, I mean, we had a very challenging camp, and then, we went straight into doubles. Our kids stepped up to the challenges that we set in front of them. And as far as where we're at now, I mean, we've played in some close games all year. we were fortunate enough to win some of those, and I feel like we're getting better as the season goes on. So hopefully we can continue to do that.
Talking about that too, I mean, I wanted to bring that up because you've played in a lot of close games this season, and you guys have come up on top of a lot of those. Is that something that you've been really coaching in the off season and in these close game scenarios, winning the close ones? Because I think that's kind of where the line draws between the very competitive teams and the teams that aren't really competing as much. But you guys seem to be competing with the best of the best each and every week.
Well, we feel like we got a group of very competitive players. There were some things that we stressed in the off season, in the preseason, going into camp, to be able to make plays when it counts. A lot of times those situations are uncomfortable because of, maybe the stage of the game or the score. So we kind of put emphasis on mental toughness, be able to get out of your comfort zone, to be able to perform, your best when your best is needed. And our guys have been able to do that so far this year.
Coach, this is a program that is really turned around a lot in the last 2 years. I mean, 2 years ago, 0-10. Last year in the crazy COVID season, 3-5, and now you're sitting at 6-2 right now. What are some of the things that have went into getting the kids to buy in and really turn this program around in such a quick amount of time?
Well, I think we have a great coaching staff. It starts with the coaches. And like I said, I think we have – I know we have really good kids that want to win, that are putting in the time, that are putting in the work. So you have that, you sprinkle in a little competitiveness. Our coaching staff's very competitive, and I think that, you add that with the kids' competitiveness, and I think you get a team that's competitive, that wants to compete every single play, despite situations. And it's easy to compete, when you're ahead, but we've been, in some situations we were down 1, down 2, we were down 20-0 in one game in half. And, like I said, I think our preparation starting in January has led to this point, but it's a credit to the kids because, as we tell them, we can, our job as coaches is to put them in positions to perform, so that their abilities come out. But at the end of the day, they're the ones doing it all on the field. We're really happy with our progress, but we're not pleased. We're not where we need to be. So we have to continue to work hard and take it a one day at a time approach where we're just trying to get better that day at whatever it is we're doing, whether it's stretching or the last section of team.
Last away game for you this season, and you guys traveling to Harrison Central this week. Preview this matchup a little bit for me, and without giving away too much of your playbook, show me some keys and some pathways that Edison gets to 6-2 through this game.
Well, offensively, we got to take care of the football. We got to sustain drives. I think our offensive line is doing a good job. They have to continue to do a good job. Defensively, we have to take away the big play. We have to make sure that we're assignment sound and that we're tackling in space well. Special teams, it's just like defense. We have to be able to make sure if it's any type of coverage team, whether it's kick or punt, that we're covering, we're not giving up extra yardage and giving our defense a short field, and just taking care of all the little things. I mean, the things that kill you in games are penalties that are ones that could be avoided, offsides, false starts, turnovers, things of that nature. So if we can do those things, we'll have, Harrison Central is a good team. We'll have an opportunity to win, but nothing's ever given. They have a lot of good athletes. Their quarterback is an outstanding athlete. They have a receiver, Trey Rex, that's about 6'4", 6'5", very athletic, two-sport player. They have a couple young freshmen that are, running back slot receivers. And then their running back is big. He's big, strong. He's got nice quickness to him. Defensively, they got some speed. There's just a lot to contend with there. And, like I said, we have to be assignment sound and make sure that, that we're taking care of our responsibilities on all sides of the ball.
All the things that you've talked about that you've done well this season and the improvements we've talked about with this program, it doesn't happen without great leadership. Highlight some of the guys that have really stepped up and been leaders for this team this year.
Well, I really feel like our offensive line, we have 4 seniors on the offensive line, and of the 4, 2 of them were 3-year starters, and the other 2 have been 2-year starters. They've done a really good job up front. I think we've gotten good leadership from our skill positions. We had a little bit more skill returning, as far as that goes, the experience that they had. And, our practices have been really good. Knock on wood, hopefully that continues today. Our kids have, like I said, they've been very open to coaching, which, again, that's, you're only given what God gave you, but if you can be coached well, you're someone that's going to take it in and be disciplined and listen, then you're going to be performing close to your capabilities, if not at or above, then that, with football being a team game, if you can get 11 guys, improving and being responsible for themselves as far as the scheme and what they're supposed to do, and I think you see improvement, with the collective team as a whole.
Talking about that improvement too, Coach, I think there's no doubt that going into each season, we all have our thoughts of what the team's going to look like. More times than not, it never seems to pan out that way of what we think. But what have been some of the bigger surprises for you from week 1 of the season to now, that whether it be players, whether it be the team chemistry, just point to me some big surprises for you from the team from week 1 until now?
Well, I think going into week 1, I feel like our team, we didn't really know what to expect. It was my first year. We had some guys back from our last staff that was that continue to stay with us. We had some new coaches. There was just a little bit of uncertainty and kind of not really knowing what you had. We had one scrimmage with Cameron, as a West Virginia school, but we had a scrimmage with Shadyside, which is a perennial Division VII powerhouse, that was canceled. And that was something that would have helped us out. That was our first scrimmage. I think we would have known a little bit more about ourselves sooner. Week 1, I feel like we just have improved, on both sides of the ball. I feel like, defensively, I feel like we've improved to the point where I think our kids are understanding what they're doing now. Like I said, when you have new staff, we're running a little different defense this year. It takes kids a while to understand it. Hopefully we can build a program where those kids come in from middle school and they know what all the base concepts and techniques are, so that we can kind of go a little bit beyond that earlier. And what we did with the kids is basically we were very vanilla to start the season, because we were stressing fundamentals, techniques of every position, both sides of the ball. And I think as they have picked up on things, I think we've been able to do a little bit more. I don't want to say complicated to be more complicated, but I think we've been able to do some things schematically, both offense and defense, that has put our kids in good positions. Week 1 was a tough opponent. You're facing a wing T team, and they played exceptionally well. We didn't play well. But I think we took that week, and I think we understood that the one thing that I remember is when we were watching film, I think the kids could see that, although we lost, we were right there. And I think week 2, we were down 2 touchdowns late in the third quarter, came back and won. I think they started to see what we could be. And I think the difference between now and week 1 is I don't really think we knew what we could be. I think the coaches knew, but as players, they, when you're not used to being in situations where you're able to come back and, where the competitiveness hasn't always been there, I think, they got a lot more confidence now. I think that was the difference between, week 1 and now.
Coach, before we let you go, for the people that are watching this that don't know a lot about Edison, the community, talk about a little bit about the community support you get and how much having the fans back you up really means to this program.
Well, the Edison community, and I mean, obviously, I'm going to be biased, but I think it's the best in our area. We have great kids. They're very blue collar, hardworking, coachable. They come from really good families. As far as the support we get from the community, I mean, it starts with Mr. Beatty, our superintendent. It trickles down to our principal, Mr. Morrison, our athletic director, Mr. Bozick. There's just a lot of support there. We have a great parents club that does a lot. We have a football moms that are very supportive and run a lot of our fundraising. And I think, it's when you're a part of something and you know that there's support there, whether it's the coaches feeling it or the players, I think it motivates you, not that that's your sole source of motivation, but, I think it makes everybody feel like they're a part of something special. And the community's been great. I mean, we the couple away games we've had, I thought we've traveled well. Our home games have been packed. Our opener was, there's people all over the place, and our homecoming game against Toronto was really packed. So, our goal was to give the community, which is an outstanding community, a product that they could be proud of, that they could get behind, and they could, kind of see as a reflection of who they are. We just built a $1 million athletic facility that's fabulous, and I think that's helped out a lot. We have brand new all-turf softball field, brand new all-turf baseball field. They have lights. They're going to have press boxes, stadium seating. And then we have our football stadium, which is fabulous, with a humongous jumbotron scoreboard. I mean, it's just a good time, to be a part of it. And we're, I know our coaches, we're excited before the season started because, it's, you hate to say it, but, when you have nice things, it makes you feel a lot better about everything. Kids are excited. We're so spoiled now. We practice on turf every day. We played an away game last week. It was on grass. We tried to get on grass for a little bit last week, and you're just spoiled now, which is a good thing. But our community is outstanding, and student body's awesome. I mean, like I said, our student section, they travel with our fans. The fans are very supportive, great parents, and like I said, we're just working hard. Today's a new day. As I told the team, it doesn't really matter what happened, yesterday, last week, 6 weeks ago, good or bad, it's all about today. So hopefully we can go out, have a really good practice today. Like I said, Harrison is their record's not very good, but they've played a tough schedule and they have some really good athletes. So we're going to have our hands cut out for us.
I'll tell you what, we are so proud that Edison is a part of the YSN family. We thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Good luck against Harrison Central and the rest of the season, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you.
That was Mike Colopy, the head coach of Edison football, joining us. The 5-2 Wildcats make the trip to Harrison Central, trying to get 6-2 on the year. And what an amazing turnaround this program has made. It's just, I said it with the interview, and I don't like to bring up, haunting us of the past, but 2 seasons ago, and really the last full season we saw Edison, they were winless, 0-10 on the year. Last year, during that year 0 wacky COVID, whatever you want to call it, 3-5, respectable with all the stuff that was going on. And then this year, 6-2. So a great turnaround for that program.
Yeah, 5-2. Don't get ahead of yourself. You might have slipped your pick. I think you slipped your pick for Friday, but we hope the best.
I don't pick against YSN schools. So.
Yeah. But no, he talks about having great days every day, and we obviously are hoping they have the best of days Friday again, as they've had a lot of good Fridays in recent memory, have the Edison Wildcats, and that's because of, as much as he gets credit to not only his players but his other coaching staff, give a pat on the back to himself as well. Done a fantastic job with this Edison program, and you talk about, and you see how he talked about too, and I think my biggest takeaway was, and it was just that little snippet of the coaches knew what we were at the beginning of the season. I think it just took some time for the players to know who they were.
And that happens more often than people realize. Like that, the coaches can see exactly what the players' potential is and exactly what they are, but it just takes some time for sometimes the players to see it and for them to kind of get that under their belt. And I think it happened in week 3 when Edison got their first really big win of the year. And then now continuing to push, they continue to get better every week, and they continue to look like a team that is more and more finding out what their identity is.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about big wins. Biggest win, too, against Matthews this year. That was a home win, one where they got them 35-18. That was a huge win. But, I mean, you look at their wins across, too. Some close ones recently. A win against Toronto, 21-20, and a win against East Liverpool, 34-24. 2 games where they've been winning close matchups, and that's the biggest thing, and that's what we wanted to talk with Coach about. They've been in a lot of close games this year, and the fact that they're starting to finish these close games out, that gives you a lot of confidence, especially with the playoffs right around the corner.
Speaking of playoffs, I know you always have the rankings out. Do you know exactly where Edison kind of sits?
They are in Division 5, Region 17, and Edison is ranked number 8, and they would have a home matchup with Crestwood as a date with them right now. But in that upper echelon, too, so you know how vitally important wins are now, because you want to try to make sure you ensure a home game, at least one home game in the playoffs.
Especially in that beautiful facility at Edison, I think it deserves one home playoff game at least. Big Jumbotron, great turf field, great atmosphere in Edison. And as he said, kind of a good job by the boosters to get a big athletic facility, $1 million athletic facility in Edison, including their new turf softball field, new turf baseball field, and the stuff that they've been able to add to the football field as well. Bravo to that whole athletics department, and we're proud to have them on the wall over there that says they're a part of the Ysn family.
Yeah, absolutely. You love when communities are able to back schools so much, and the schools can reap the benefits for the kids to have new facilities such as that.
And, this football team this year has had to be kind of an escape for a community that dealt with a little bit of a tragedy. And we were open with that on YSN, and we kind of sent our good wishes and our as much positive vibes and prayers and everything that we could to that program. But really, that football team that week went out and beat Toronto 21-20. And, they gave them kind of a little bit of an escape.
Yeah, and a close one, too.
A close one.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at what they've been able to do, too. I mean, they win the close ones, and I mean, I love what Edison's been able to do, and I mean, their community's rallying behind them, and I mean, coaches giving them something to cheer about.
5-2 on the year, soon to be 6-2.
Yeah, you're hoping too, as you tipped your pick here a little bit early before Friday.
If it's a non-YSN school versus a YSN school, you know who I'm picking. I'm a company man, Ty. I don't pick against YSN banners.
Yeah. As you want to give me all the flack, but no, still a great interview with Coach. As we were glad to get him on to highlight a little bit of
especially when said team's coach joins us on Running Point.
Yeah,
no way I'm picking against them the same week that their coach comes on the show.
I wasn't going to be picking against them either. If you want me to tip my pick too, if you want to start grilling me here on a Tuesday.
We'll tip that pick right now. We'll just say we're both taking Edison.
But now looking at this, I think this is going to be a really good week for the Wildcats, and excited to see what they're able to do.
That wasn't our last guest of the day. 1:30, John Bake will join us from Struthers football. We're going to take a quick break and get prepared for that one. Don't go anywhere. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air,
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
online,
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
on social media, and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown as we gear up for this interview with Coach John Eoac from Struthers Wildcats. We could bring in Ty Bartell, who joins me like he does every day. I want to remind everybody, by the way, that the comments section brought to you by Boardman Mitsubishi is live. Whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, you can leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. You can also call us if you feel obliged, 330-886-0813. We'd love to have you on. Ty, we get ready for this interview with John Eoac, the head coach of the Struthers Wildcats. Struthers are 4-3 on the year so far. Took some hard hits against South Range and Hubbard, but I think a lot of people are in that boat with them. And now they have righted the ship, so to speak, against Jefferson last week with the big win. Close for a while, but then Struthers really ran away with it.
Yeah, and you know what? Struthers has done a great job this year of competing in those with those teams that are right in the same boat as them. And you look at their 3 losses this year: a loss against a 7-0 Hubbard team, a loss against a 7-0 South Range team, and a loss against a 5-1 Streetsboro team that has a monstrous schedule, does Streetsboro, and that is one of the best teams up a division in D3. So you look at what Struthers did after winning the first 2, they dropped 3, and then they win 2 more. And I think that's been a huge compliment to not only what Coach Eoac has been able to do, but what the Struthers Wildcats as a team have been able to do, showing that they can respond even when they are down. And right now, right back in the thick of it. They are a 15 seed, so number 15 Struthers in Division 4. That would set up a matchup with number 2 in D4. That's a certain Irish over there at Ursuline. That would be a round 1 matchup between Ursuline and Struthers, so definitely would be an interesting matchup. But Struthers, now that they are in the playoff conversation, wants to keep winning, so that way they can get themselves deeper into the playoff conversation. And you know what? Big win against Jefferson too on the road. Anytime you have to go up to Jefferson, it's not the easiest place to play. It's not the easiest travel. But Struthers, again, proving that they're able to do so, win on the road. Now they have a huge home matchup here with Niles playing up a division, and this is a win too against the Niles Red Dragons team that you figure if Struthers is able to pull off, it's going to make them look really, really good in Division 4.
Yeah, and it'll continue their statement this year that they are competing with the teams that, like you said, are in the same boat as them. Like, this is the game they have to win. Niles kind of in that same boat where they have competed. They just got they got beat up by Hubbard in South Range last week. But Antoine Gardner has been running extremely well for the Dragons. They're kind of keeping their head above water. So this is a team kind of in that same boat as Struthers that Struthers has to separate themselves from.
And you look at the last 3 games of the season, you want to talk about teams that are in the same boat as you. Niles, Girard, Poland. Niles is 3-3, Girard's 4-3, Poland's 4-3, Struthers is 4-3. So you look at it, these are all the teams in the middle of it in the NE8. And you know what the beautiful thing is? With the exception of Niles, both Girard and Poland also D4 Region 13, so in the same region. So it really is your own destiny is for you to make of it. And you can paint your own destiny. You can paint your own playoff picture right now. If you're Girard, if you're Poland, if you're Struthers, as you look at all 3 of those teams right now, Girard, number 13, Girard, number 10, Poland, number 15, Struthers. Obviously, that landscape can change mightily in the next few weeks, too. And, of course, I think if you jump over to D3, Niles is also in the running for it. I want to see where Niles is real quickly, as they are number 17, so just on the outside looking in right now. So these next 3 weeks for Struthers, every single team fighting for their playoff lives. It's going to be great games.
Yeah, and this Niles Struthers, and I think every Struthers game from the rest of the season going to be one of those ones under the radar, very competitive.
Absolutely,
they're not going to be the most talked about game of the week, but they're also going to be kind of those sleeper games that are going to be very competitive.
They're games where something is going to change no matter what the outcome is. Every single week, something in playoff pictures are going to change every single week that they play from here on out. And that's exciting in itself from a media standpoint following the Wildcats. As we have 2 Wildcats on. I didn't even realize I set it up as an all Wildcat day too for
Bomber and 2 Wildcats.
Yeah. Well, we started off with a bang and then we had to get a couple Wildcats in after that. But that'd be pretty fun too. I didn't even realize that. That's pretty funny, a coincidence how that lined up.
Yeah. One of the things about Coach Bayek as well, coaching family. I mean, coaching tree, coaching family. Brian Hoffman of Hubbard just tied Jeff Bayek for the most wins in Hubbard's coaching history. 121 wins for Coach Hoffman, now tied with Coach Bayek from the past. And it's a coaching tree. It's almost like coaching a second nature for this family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they do a great job of making the kids believe in themselves. And one of the interesting things I want to talk with Coach Bayek about, I want to talk about that community coming back too, because this is the one community, one of the few communities we talked about when they come back and when that team can feel the force of that Struthers community behind them, it can change that team. And that team has a great following and great fans over there in Struthers. So I'm curious to see how much that's influenced and helped motivate this team this year.
We talked to him preseason, and one of the things he said, there were fans lining up to try to get into their scrimmages and their practices, just trying to get a glimpse at this football team. So when you have a community that is that hungry for football, and then that now they get it, obviously they've gotten it for the last 7 weeks. Struthers is going to support their teams extremely well football no different.
Yeah, absolutely. And support's going a long way for them this year, too. As you see where their record is, they're right in the thick of it. They have their destiny in hand, too. Let's see where they end up.
By the way, their quarterback, Dylan Greenwood, and our show is sponsored by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
There you go. There you go. Getting his name out there.
Little nudge out there right now. Maybe one day we'll have Dylan on the show, and it could be a whole segment. Greenwood for Greenwood.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you might be hearing us talk about Struthers a lot because you want to talk about some premier matchups. It might be Wildcats and Niles this week as one of our premier matches.
You'll have to wait on Thursday. We're not giving away all of ours.
Yeah, we're not giving away everything, but it might be
away picks.
I'm looking at where my top 10 games are, and we decide on our top 5 too. That one's definitely in the top 10. It's in the running to make it too. I'll tip away which ones are in the running to make it. We don't know what the pool is we're choosing.
So it's kind of like, here are our Oscar nominees.
It's like, here are the 10 nominees. 5 get in. 50% chance. So it's 50-50. But no, there's a lot of great matchups too, and that's the great thing and exciting thing we're going to be talking about coming in the coming weeks when you go for week 8, 9, 10 now. It is playoff time now. We're talking playoffs. We're in the thick of playoffs now. Like, this is talking about where teams are going to be ending up, because every week now it starts shaping a little bit more of the map and what we're going to see.
Some news we do have to break about this week while we're talking about matchups this week, and it's unfortunately news that we never like breaking here on Running Point. East Palestine and Columbiana has been canceled. It is due to COVID problems on East Palestine side, so Columbiana will be actively looking for a week 8 opponent. Also, JFK versus St. Thomas Aquinas has been canceled as well. A little bit of mixture between St. Thomas Aquinas struggling with numbers and maybe a possible COVID situation with their program. So JFK also looking for a week 8 opponent as of now.
Yeah, and I mean, we hope that every team's able to get games off, but we know how COVID's able to change the landscape of the playoffs as well. As hard as that is to say too, COVID is a player, and it is a factor in this whole shaping of the map. So it is going to have a factor, I think, too, because you might be looking at teams that they need that game. They need that extra game to make up the computer points, because you remember losing a game can hurt you in more ways than one. So you just hope that it doesn't take any team severely out of the standings.
I'll tell you, Ty, if we have to go through this to make sure that no one has to miss a playoff game because of COVID, I'm okay with it. Like, if we have to miss 2 regular season games every now and then or whatever, and if it means that we don't have any problems in the playoff, and I'm really hoping we don't, like severely hoping we don't, then I think it's kind of worth it.
Yeah, honestly. And you know what? You almost, I don't know. I mean, this might be a thing that's ever changing. It all depends on how present this is going to be too, and how present and how long COVID's going to be an issue week to week, talking about games. And we don't know. We're kind of playing it week to week at a time, but you're kind of wondering too if this is something that's lasting more than this season and extends to next. And I mean, obviously, knock on wood, we hope that's not the case. But if it does, you start thinking about what are some ways we could try to counteract some of this and ensure that we have the best possible product on the field and the best possible teams in the running for the playoffs come the end of the season.
Speaking of best possible product, we're going to put a really good product on the show now, and it's going to be Coach John Bayek from Struthers popping in. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
No problem, fellas. How's it going?
We are rolling on this wonderful Tuesday. How's your week going?
Not too bad. We're just trying to pump through with this COVID stuff and injuries and just craziness every week, man. It's something new every day.
We were talking about it before you came on. I mean, it's a crazy thing to think, like, you never know when a game might be canceled or when you might have to search for a new opponent. From a coach's perspective, before we really get into your program, what's this season kind of been like with this uncertainty and trying to go into every week preparing for one opponent, but also it's got to be kind of in the back of your mind that, hey, we might have to look for an opponent on the fly, or we might have to – is it more of trying to keep it to what you guys are doing well, other than preparing for the other team? Has there been more of focusing on you guys this year?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is not knowing who you're going to have day to day. We've had kids quarantined every single week. So I don't think it's so much, we haven't really had issues with opponents, but every day it's, we didn't have our captain senior linebacker last week, and we didn't find that out until later in the week. So we were kind of shuffling people around and figuring out where we were going to put some young guys. And I think that's the most difficult thing as a coach, not knowing every day when you wake up who's going to be on your team that week. So I think that's one of the most difficult things to deal with right now as a coaching staff. And I feel bad for the kids because they're doing the same thing. They can wake up and, these seniors are only guaranteed how many this season, and one can get taken away from them in a matter of a COVID test. So I feel bad for the kids, the stuff they're going through this year. And like I said, we're just trying to figure it out as we go.
First off, Coach, I want to congratulate you on a huge victory over Jefferson, going up to Jefferson and getting that victory. Talk to me a little bit about this team. And, from a coaching perspective, when you kind of get punched in the mouth a little bit and you go down 2-3, I think it says a lot about a team that can get punched in the gut a little bit and still get back up and come out swinging. Talk to me a little bit about how that makes you feel as a coach and what you've seen on the field the last couple of weeks from your team being able to respond after 3 weeks of three very tough opponents, but coming out now 2 consecutive wins and right back into the playoff picture.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, those 3 weeks were definitely difficult. And, as a coach, you've kind of been through that before. If you've been coaching for a long time, you've kind of been through those roller coaster rides during the season. But like you said, it's kind of hard to keep kids on track and believing that, what we're doing is the right thing and we're going to make progress. And I guess during those times, those 3 weeks of 3 probably the best opponents that most schools have gone through consecutively, those teams are probably going to have 1 loss, 2 losses combined. But we just try to tell them we need to get better. No matter what the score is at the end of the game, if we can look back at the film and say that we're making progress, we're getting better up front, we're getting better on defense, those were our goals. And I think the kids bought into that, and our leaders really stepped up. Our defense stepped up against Lakeview last week, and this past Friday, our offense really stepped up. Dylan Greenwood, our quarterback. So I think just the leadership roles that some of these kids have taken on has really helped, get through that rough path. And, just Gino Calibret and Dylan Greenwood honestly have really been our foundation, man. Gino's really kept our defense together, and Dylan's really kept our offense together. And it's just those guys that have bought into what the coaches have been preaching. And hopefully, again, we just get better. That's our focus every week.
Ty brought up, the stretch of games that was tough. And I love that you said, no matter what the score is, we want to get better. And you looked at the film, you played South Range and then Hubbard. Do you think you saw things in the Hubbard game that you guys executed better than you did in the South Range game week to week? And you could physically see evidence that you guys were getting better from week to week despite the results?
That's funny you say that, because it's after the game we watched the film and we actually thought our offensive line played decent up front, but the score or the statistics wouldn't show that. But just seeing our kids, we've done so much shuffling around up front this year. We've had some kids quarantined every week or injuries. We lost 2 starters at the beginning of the year. So we were down 2 guys after week 2 after Streetsboro. So the new guys that had to step up and take their role, we actually saw progress within that week, but no one will really know that unless you're a coach and you know what the heck you're doing. But we did see some progress from South Range to Hubbard. But, those were 2 great offensive and defensive lines all 3 weeks. So our kids really got tested in the trenches, Streetsboro, Range, and Hubbard. And I think that showed. Coming out against Lakeview, the game slowed down a little bit. Coming out against Jefferson, the game slowed down a little bit because those 3 games were just grueling up front. So I think our kids, even though, the outcome didn't go our way, we did learn some things and make some progress.
So from one tough matchup to the next, because it seems like the next few weeks, it's a lot of teams in this NE8 that are right around the same area. So this is a huge games the next few weeks. As of course, we don't want to look ahead, so we'll look at this one. You got Niles this weekend playing up a division, but I mean, this is a Niles Red Dragons team that's done a lot of things well. You guys have done a lot of things well without giving away too much of your playbook. What are we expecting from the Red Dragons, and what are we expecting from the Wildcats trying to counteract the Red Dragons this week?
Yeah, it's a good game every year between us. I'm happy it's home this year. It's our kids' senior night. It's their last home game. So I'm sure our seniors are going to be a little bit more passionate about this one since it's the last one at our stadium. And I think, we've been talking about all week, these are playoff games now. So we're currently sitting at 15. So we need to take every game as serious as we can and come out. And like I've been saying this whole show, we just need to get better in all aspects of the game. So we've had some young guys step up for some injuries that occurred the last few weeks. And again, we need those young guys to get better and get used to the Friday night lights. But yeah, every game's a playoff game, and it's a hard-hitting, great game every year against Niles. So I'm expecting the same.
In the summer and in the preseason, I think every coach probably has a expectation or a thought of how this season's going to go or what they're going to see. What has been kind of the biggest surprise from your team or biggest thing that they've done or they've been able to do that maybe weren't in your cards or your expectations for this season?
Well, personally, what's been the biggest surprise for me is as a head coach or any coach, assistant coach, I don't think you ever really expect freshmen to be on the field on Friday night. And the past 3 weeks, we've had 3 freshmen start. So I think that's something that no one really could have guessed at the beginning of this season with personnel and depth chart and things like that. So I think it's been, although a lot of our older guys, some has sustained injuries that they couldn't come back. It's been a pleasant surprise that we found some kids that are real young that have taken on those roles, and which kind of makes a bright future for us. So I think that was the biggest surprise as a coaching staff. You never expect injuries. And I think that's one of the biggest things the last 2 years, just the way the seasons have been going with shorter season, COVID, practice getting altered, things like that. I think that's one of the biggest changes we had to go through coming into this season with new guys, younger guys having to step up and take on a role, which has been a pleasant surprise.
I mean, looking at this team too, and we said it before the season, and I'll say it again. I think Struthers has one of the best communities that follow the football program. Talk to me a little bit about this year as opposed to the last year, having the community back. How has that helped the team at all? How has it helped the team, and what is the overall feeling of having the Wildcat family back in the stadium?
Oh yeah, man, it's been great having we had 3 home games in a row, and the stands were packed every night, and it's just something I think the community really needed. I mean, Struthers revolves around football and Friday nights. There's really nothing like it. You can't really compare any other sporting event to it than a Friday night in Struthers. So, I mean, compared to last year, it's obviously completely different and a nice feeling for the kids to be able to play in front of a full crowd, and they didn't have to worry about 15% capacity and ticket sales and all this stuff. But no, it's been real nice just to be able to have the crowd there, the parents there, and everyone there that has always supported and continues to support our program.
Coach, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. I know game week can get busy during the football season, so we appreciate the time. Good luck this week against Niles, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thanks, fellas. I appreciate you reaching out. You guys have a good one.
All right, John Bayek, the head coach of Struthers football, in a stretch where, as we said before, a very important stretch for the Wildcats and, quite frankly, the teams that they're playing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's going to be great games too, all set up within the NE8, and it's going to be an interesting finish. All these teams, it's going to be a battle of 4 teams of the 8 in the NE8. You're looking Niles, you're looking Girard, you're looking Poland.
Yeah, that last game might be really interesting, and both teams take care of business these next 2 weeks, and we have 2 3-loss teams trying to get a last-second push into a good playoff spot. that could be a really interesting Week 10 matchup.
And what Struthers does well kind of counteracts what Poland does really well too. So it's going to be interesting, and vice versa. What Poland does well counteracts what Struthers does very well. So it's going to be it would be a very interesting matchup, and that might be the silent matchup in the NE8 at Week 10. We all know who the big one is going to be. Everyone talks about, but that might be the undercard before the main event title fight. That might be the one where everyone's also tuning into, because that's going to be a great matchup, I think, too.
Are you looking ahead to Week 10?
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking ahead. You can't. I mean, if you're Struthers, you absolutely cannot be looking ahead. You got to look at the opponent in front of you that week, because every single week from here on out, you're looking at an opponent that is fighting for their playoff life as well.
You know, we didn't get a chance to recap the weekend's action yesterday, obviously, with their show, but South Range and Hubbard both getting big wins, and those trains keep trucking. And it's kind of like one of those math story problems. If train Hubbard leaves the station at 45 miles an hour from Hubbard, Ohio, and South Range leaves the station at 60 miles an hour from Canfield, and they're both on the same track, when are they going to collide? Answer A, B, C, D, E, all Week 10, and you circle E, all the above.
Yeah, and you look at the games too. This is going to be an interesting matchup for South Range with Jefferson this week, but afterwards you got to face a Lakeview team that's still trying to rebuild, and then you got Hubbard, where Hubbard's got a little bit of a test too. Very similar to Struthers, still has to face both Girard and Niles this season, and those are going to be two interesting matchups to see what Hubbard can bring too. As we do know, of course, South Range already answering the test of both Niles and Girard this season, and answering it both emphatically, I believe, as well, too, putting up 41 points consecutive. I believe that was the past 2 weeks, actually. So they answered the test. Now it's on to Hubbard.
Yeah, and you know what? One of the things about this NE8 that I love so much about it, every team, including Lakeview this year, they've been pretty competitive in some of these games. Good enough to beat you if you don't show up. If you don't give them respect.
Absolutely. So we knew when they were going to play each other, we were going to get this kind of traffic jam in the middle of the standings, like we're getting between your Jeffersons, your Struthers, your Poland, your Niles, your Girard. Literally 5 teams. You got your 2 tops at the 7-0. The other 5 are in the middle of the pack. And of course, we know Lakeview still trying to rebuild, but we're seeing some good things from Lakeview. I think they're a few years, or maybe a year, honestly, away from seeing those improvements, maybe a couple away from getting right back into those standings. But you're looking at a traffic jam. 7 of the 8 teams in the NE8 are competing for playoff spots right now. And we said you might see all 8, but you'd see a good majority, and there's 7 right now.
7 is not a bad thing. And you know, I looked down at my shirt and I'm thinking, when are we going to see NE8 commercial that says it just means more?
Yeah. It's a great division too. One of the better ones, I think. Great conference, I should say. And it's going to come down to a fun ending, I think. And all these teams, if they make the playoffs, they're going to be a very tough out.
Yeah, I want to take the time to remind people, you know, we just couldn't get to all the recaps from the weekend and from last night because we had such a jam-packed show. We thank all of our guests first and foremost. We never wanted to sound like we were mad that we had guests on. No, it was a great show. But we do want to remind people that you can go on to ysnlive.com and get all the recaps, all the game stories that you could possibly want. Plus, stay tuned to our social media page because, you know, stories take a little bit to go up. You know, we're human. It takes a little bit to write a story and get it up. But now we have graphics going up really quick right after that final score goes live. So, you know, follow us on social media, get those final scores, and then head over to ysnlive.com to get the full game story. YSN Live has you covered. We're constantly growing our ways to kind of get information to you. And these graphics that you've been seeing the last week is one of the new ways that we've kind of innovated getting the final scores to you as quick as possible. So then we can go write the stories and the stories can get up too.
All in the effort of making it more convenient for our viewers, and that's what we're all about here at YSN. And of course, too, if you're tuning in late and you missed some of the show, we had Coach Copley from Edison Wildcats football program. We had Coach Bayek from Struthers football program, and we had Coach Gintert had to join on the phone lines. A little bit of technical difficulties, but
We pulled the Captain America, man. Whatever
we
it
did.
takes.
We did, and it was Windham's volleyball coach that was on. If you missed any of those interviews, you could also be sure to check our YouTube page as well as I believe our YSN web page as well, as you'll see these interviews will
They'll be up
pop
soon.
up at some point.
They'll pop up soon.
Yep, they'll pop up soon. So stay tuned. If you missed any of those will of course be on the show as we clip all of the interviews that we get from the show and we throw them up on the site for your convenience. So.
Like there was a lot of big scores from the soccer field last night. A couple of big scores from volleyball. It was a kind of quiet night and a big clash in Wellsville, by the way. Wellsville beating Beaver Local in a matchup between two very good volleyball teams. But a lot to kind of look at from our socials in the website from last night and the weekend, by the way, that you can go and see all of the stories on ysnlive.com. What you can also do on ysnlive.com is vote for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley. As we approach the end of the show, let's see how YSN Nation has done, right? Let's just see where we stand. Okay, the football total is 17-15. So it's gone up quite a bit. The volleyball total, 9208. Let's do the math. Let's do the math real quick, and then we'll get
I think it's just short by a few hundred.
This is 17-215 9208. Oh, Instagram, get out of here. Plus 9208.
The question is, do we set another one for them for Wednesday at the start of the show?
26.
Just under.
2-3.
So we draw. So I think to evade the draw, let's set one more number and we'll look at it start of the show tomorrow, 12 o'clock. So they have a 22-hour break to vote in our 22-hour break in between shows to vote. And I think by tomorrow, you're going to see a total of 38,000 votes combined.
38. I'll go.
We opened it up today and we already had, I think they could get there. They might be able to get more.
I'll go 35.
35. Okay. So you got a 3,000 window. You got a decent amount. And you know what? I think they could do it too. 22 hours. They got about 1,000 in the hour we set for them. I think they could do it.
Hey, and if you go over, it's another scratch. That's the thing. I mean,
we're gonna have to just keep betting until we get it. We get the right number. So
it goes all the way until Saturday, people. We're only on. It's not even been up for 24 hours, and we have over 24,000 votes.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. And you know what? When you see
that is more than 1,000 votes per hour.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when you see Crestview, Western Reserve, Warren JFK, Fitch, Girard, Wellsville, LeBray, like these are great schools, great communities. I expect them to show up.
If it stays like that, it should get, honestly, it should get well above 38,000.
I think they can do it too. I think I set the bar a little bit low for you guys, but let's see what you guys can do. I think you guys got it.
I'm not trying to infatuate like that. I'm not believing in you guys, but that now I can't recant because that's against the rules. But at the same time, I'm thinking like I should have said that stat before.
I gave you a little bit of a look into. I said, I don't know, man. We just hope that they have a lot of votes in already.
1,000 an hour is a big number.
They've been able to do it.
Over 1,000 an hour, and people aren't voting at 3 a.m. So really, I mean, they've been really going.
I think we'll get it. We'll check in tomorrow. We have Scotty on tomorrow as well. Look forward to that, as I got to get a little bit of revenge on him. He got some wins on me last week.
He won last week.
Yeah. So we have to get back on him. I'm going to be doing some studying. I cleared my schedule so I could do some studying prior, Scotty.
Real quick before we go, let's just go over what's going to be on the network tonight. You're going to be at Austintown Fitch for volleyball. I believe they're hosting East, the Golden Bears. I'll also be in the AAC. I'm making the trip to Howland as they are going to be playing Canfield. So that should be a fun matchup in the AAC in the Tigers Den in Howland. Also on the network tonight, Letonia goes to East Palestine. DJ will be there doing that one. And Struthers will be hosting Girard, and the Struthers school will have that one covered as well. Just going over some other matchups on tonight. A big one in Crestview, as 11-1 in the league. Garfield goes to undefeated Crestview. It's Garfield's last chance to knot up the MVAC. We saw the last set. They got a little bit more competitive with Crestview, so they're hoping they can knock off the Rebels tonight and take a share of the MVAC. Also, Waterloo goes to Jackson Milton. Boardman goes to Ursuline. Hubbard going to South Range. That is the Raiders senior night, by the way. Brookfield goes to Newton Falls. LeBray goes to Champion. Liberty goes to Campbell Memorial. Poland goes to Niles. And Valley Christian goes to Lisbon. Liberty, I already said that. Jeez. So Valley Christian goes to Lisbon. And then in the soccer category, these are almost all boys games. So we'll start with the boys. Campbell going to Champion. Jackson Milton going to Waterloo. Middle Ridge going to Brookfield. Austintown Fitch going to Warren Harding. And Jefferson going to Hubbard. And then Boardman going to Ursuline. Now there is one more boys game. I apologize. One more boys game. Girard going to Poland. And then the girls is a part of a doubleheader at Poland. So the girls will play at 5 against Girard. Boys at 7 on the soccer field. And, you know, we keep saying it. Your nice days to watch soccer are dwindling. But today, it looks pretty good. The temperature at kickoff at 7 o'clock is scheduled to be 72, according to our partners over at Storm Tracker 21. Sunset 6:57, so it will definitely be under the lights for most of these kickoffs. Another good night to watch some soccer.
Yeah, absolutely. Get out there and check it out while you still can and while the weather is still nice.
Go out, get some soccer, get some volleyball if you can't. We got 4 matches on the YSN networks tonight, so either tune in or get out. Either way, get in some local high school sports. We're going on a 22-hour break. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next, followed by the Power Hour. We will see you tomorrow from 12 to 2.